let folks settle in for a second. I will say, much like Sam, I was also in London yesterday, and if I start talking delirious, I need someone to give me a polite nod as well. Really quickly, let's just start with some introductions. What you're working on, what are you doing right now in both the platform engineering or AI space, so that we can set some context for everyone.
All right. So I'll start. I'm Aaron Erickson. I founded what's called our Applied AI Lab within DJ's Cloud. So our cloud platform where we have people around the world doing inference, large model training, and all sorts of other interesting stuff with AI. That's what I do.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sylvain Kalash. I'm the head of AI Lab at Rootly. Rootly, for those who don't know, is an incident management platform and on-call. And I created the Rootly AI Lab to really understand what applied AI can do to the world of reliability.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. I'm Vishaka, and I am a cloud architect at Google, where basically what I do day to day is help customers build and deploy solutions in cloud. And with the AI era, I have been kind of upskilling myself and I've become an infrastructure AI specialist now. Honored to be here and looking forward to this discussion today.
Yep. So it's interesting. Like I mentioned, I was in London yesterday, and we had a panel. It was myself, Nikki Watts, Cornelia Davis. And for the folks that are looking at this after that panel, it's going to be on the video. We didn't actually talk about AI very much in that discussion, shocker. And we were pretty deliberate about that because we thought that there were a lot of foundational elements that a lot of teams were struggling with when it comes to applying platform engineering at scale, right? Why talk about agentic models when I can't do CI/CD correctly? Why talk about agentic orchestration when I can't just orchestrate a delivery or deployment into production? What are some ways to start off with the conversation? What are some ways you all are seeing AI being applied to actually accelerate the maturity of some of the platform engineering capabilities in teams versus just we're going to throw AI at a big problem that we have, or we're just going to do AI in kind of this non-standard way? And we'll start with Vishaka. We'll start with you.
Ricky changed my script fully this morning. He said that we are going to talk about a few other things, and that's AI. But so I will get started with how it has been making a foundational impact in our organization as well. We have been following the AI first approach. It's not about just building platforms to scale internally or just for our company, but also delivering those platforms to our users, to our customers. So a couple of ways I've been seeing it's impacting the end users and organizations is by kind of enabling business transformations, right? Providing those toolings that will help solve real problems rather than building platforms to kind of address those issues. The other key strategy that I've been seeing a lot is how these platforms can lower down the barriers with the open source ecosystem. So giving a flexible means to deploy open source models and giving that ecosystem all together with managed services. That's where I've been seeing a lot of how our companies, the initiatives are right now. And the third and the most crucial one that I feel is very that makes sense now is how we can empower more organizations to experiment, to run prototypes, to run pilots, rather than just embedding AI into everything and rapidly doing it. Let's just do it safely. Let's just do it at that scale, rather than just going with the buzzword and implementing everywhere. Does it make sense to implement AI in this particular use case? Would it benefit the business in some way? And evaluating those things has been very crucial. So in conclusion, I've seen that this the agentic AI era and generative AI, everything has been more foundational to the core rather than just a feature add-on. It is more of how it's not just adding automation to our systems. It's more of building a platform which is more intelligent. And I feel we are going in we are still in the journey, and there's a lot more to see now.
So then what do you think about that?
Yeah, so for us, we are really looking at incident management and how we can apply AI to that specific domain. And what we are trying to do is very augment and empower existing operation team using the tools that are here to do a better job, or maybe focus on tasks that are more interesting. The panel before spoke a lot about automation. We constantly want to automate kind of the easy tasks. So I think, there is a number of ways that we've seen positive results, and you spoke about acceleration in your question. One of them is triaging alert and incidents. Obviously, here you can use this LLM to help team to filter and try to do understand, for you if that's something you should look at. And the second thing that's quite interesting, and I think has like a larger impact, is root cause analysis. So once you know that something is broken and you need to jump into it, we've seen a decrease in performing the root cause analysis by anywhere from 90 to 80%. So an investigation of an incident that may take 10 to 20 minutes because you need to jump between your observability, logging tool, et cetera, to gather the graphic, and so on and so forth. An agentic system can do this in a matter of 2 minutes. So if you get paged, by the time you open your laptop and you go on your incident management platform, you can have an existing root cause analysis done. And perhaps it's correct, perhaps it's hallucinated. That's another topic maybe we'll speak about. But I think we are seeing a lot of value in this space.
Yeah. I can double down on that. I mean, we're Rootly customers, and we love the tool. So yay you. I wasn't paid by you, obviously. Just happened to work that way. A little bit of what we do at DJ's Cloud. So we run a cloud of GPUs across every single cloud provider, plus a whole bunch of new ones called neoclouds. You've heard of CoreWeave, you've heard of Nebius, you've heard of several others. That gets very complex, and we don't have enough humans to do it all. And so one of the things that our team develops is kind of as a practical thing. We use AI doing things called time series transformer models to do anomaly detection across the entire fleet of these things, so we can start to get some early warning of patterns that are emergent. You can use a time series model the same way ChatGPT can say, what are the next 500 words after the entire corpus of language you have in an LLM? You can do this with time series transformers as well. So we're fundamentally doing some new technology, doing some new research around that so we can do a better job of finding these new things that happen. So that's one way that we think about it. The other way we think about it almost though gets to the definition of platform as well. And this is kind of a trend I'm starting to see. But there's this kind of conversation, I heard it earlier, about non-determinism versus determinism. And do non-deterministic systems cause problems with hallucinations? Well, we heard about a hallucination that SharePoint gave our initial speaker today, which was the wrong thing in the SharePoint document. And now we're building agentic systems that are using ground truth as those documents and wondering why they hallucinate sometimes. So what's really the platform going to be? Well, I actually think it's the deterministic systems of record that are going to tell you the truth all the time based on data that you actually trust. And those are going to be the deterministic systems on which agentic systems sit on the top of that. And so that's actually what's happening is the platform is becoming kind of almost this determinism layer where like a calculator lives. And I think that's going to be a big difference.
So, Vishaka, I'm sorry, I'm going to go even more off script. So once the train starts going, I can't stop it. And
Go for it.
as an agent of chaos, this is what I do quite a bit. So what Aaron just described, I think is pretty interesting about what that lower level, the kind of like lowest piece of infrastructure would be. For you working at a cloud provider and being a cloud architect, what would you think about the next level of that architecture being? Because you talked a lot about building for customers, and as platform engineers in the room, as a platform engineer, the customer usually is a developer. So what would you think that next level of kind of architecture or capabilities if a developer's saying, I don't know what Aaron just talked about. I don't know what that even means. So what do you think that intermediary level could be for providing those types of capabilities to developers?
That's a very critical, scenario where it's one of the key things that I feel that we have been seeing a lot is to treat these components like AI agents as a major part of the platform. Like it's a separate component in the architecture. So designing that architecture is very crucial to make sure that we are treating as, like there was a question this morning, is it different from microservices, right? The part here is there's no difference here. They're all different components in an architecture, in a solution. There's like traditional applications where software developers used to build systems. Now there's like, people are building AI agents, and that's also a major component in an architecture, right? So it has to go through the same level of scrutiny, I would say, like same level of policies needs to be enforced. It has to be scanned. It has to be, follow the ecosystem rules of the system. Like even in cloud provider, right? They have to ensure that there is scanning being done. So like how we used to scan containers before shipping it to production, right? Like for application. Same with AI agents. There are like one of our components in our cloud is model armor. It scans, it vets these LLM models before even going further down to tie it up with infrastructure. It's like what the model outputs would be. Can we add some security guardrails around it? Is it like, what if we can just filter out some things? And then there's the human in the loop phase as well, that even in this big architecture, there is a human involved everywhere. AI can just give us recommendations. It can provide the intelligence, but the end decision maker is still a human. So kind of designing that architecture in a sense, treating it as a component in the platform, and then going through like all the same policies as like, enforcing, the right guardrails and like making sure it's following the rules rather than just acting by itself. That's the critical piece of, right now, how we are designing solutions.
That makes a ton of sense. That's a great answer. So then I want to ask something of you as a kind of follow-up to what you mentioned. Aaron mentioned that they're a customer. We've been working pretty closely with you all on something called AI operations. How do you think, again, as a platform engineer, Kelsey earlier was talking about the evolution of automation to DevOps to now platform engineering, and Google has did this work around SRE. How do you think AI is going to like fundamentally reshape what a traditional platform engineer and a traditional SRE engineer was doing? Since what does operations mean in that space if we've kind of used AI to converge all of these different things? Do you see it reshaping it where there is no operations or SRE person, or they're just another member of the platform engineering team? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's more of the latter. I think if you listen to executives and CEOs, they want to sell you AGI, fully autonomous system. I think we all agree here that we are not there here like anytime soon. So I think it's more like, augmentation of the current workforce is really where I believe the value is. And the term like 10x engineer was something very popular, maybe not anymore, but I believe that's what this type of tool can lead us to become this 10x or 100x engineer by automating and helping you to do your job better. So earlier I spoke about how this LLM can help SRE people to do root cause analysis faster. That's a really reactive, right? Something breaks, we ask help from the system, but what if we could use this system in a proactive way? For instance, what if we can analyze a code base and perhaps try to predict incidents or simulate, you say you are an agent of chaos, simulate potential like spike in your system or come up with stats. And so I think this can empower team to do their job of reliability better by being proactive. And I think that's also how like Google is, as you say, like kind of the grail, like everybody's looking at Google for reliability, and they have all this 9 of reliability. I think for small teams, that's how they will be able to reach like the 5 or 6 9 of reliability, is by augmenting themselves with all these agents that can, first prevent them from doing the firefighting that's taking so much energy and time, and focusing on a more proactive approach that's going to, this time, really go toward the reliability goal.
Do you want?
I think building on that, I think where agents can play in this, and I think there's been a little bit of a conflation about AI should, and the security around AI. I always imagine AI stands for angry intern. And what you're doing is you're putting an angry intern in a Docker container, and you're giving it the ability to write its own code. And then you wonder why things could go wrong. We need to treat these, and they're not people. Let's not anthropomorphize us more than we need to. But in this case, it might be useful. Give the AI agent its own security credentials and be very intentional about what you're going to give it access to. Just like if you had an angry intern with a computer to do the same thing, right? We have ways to do this stuff. I also think the definition of who's using this platform is radically changing before our eyes. Okay, it used to be semi-responsible software engineers writing most of our code. Not always responsible. We still did things wrong. We still looked up old Confluence pages or SharePoints that told us the wrong thing and deployed the wrong thing. But now we have business vibe coders. Or no, they're called agentic coders now because we don't like that term. But that's what they really are. By the way, we've had these for 40 years. They were called your VB that writes a spreadsheet where they make all their important decisions. Okay, this is not new. But they are applying things on these platforms. They need to understand how you put the tool into the platform. So your definition and your user base of an internal developer platform just became many, many more people. And so we have to start thinking about what are those workflows for them as well to put agents they develop into the system, and then for them to have the platform services that they need, which are the primitives that agents use to actually do business useful work.
Okay, we're good. Because that's an interesting thought, because a lot of the clients that I'm talking to are in that mode where they're thinking, as a traditional platform engineer, the developer interface that I would talk to would be either a CLI, an IDE, or Backstage as a developer portal. But now AI allows you to open up the population to more types of individuals, democratization, I've got conversational interfaces, all of those types of things. How do we think, as a platform engineer, what are just general thoughts? Because that was a great tee up, Aaron. I appreciate it. What are your general thoughts on if I'm a platform engineer right now and my developers all want Terraform scripts or they want all of these things? What's that change? What should we be thinking about now from an AI perspective to get prepared for? I'm going to have a marketing intern that says, "Oh, I could just vibe code a new application and put it into production day one," versus back when I was doing platform engineering, starting off, the vibe coder was Microsoft Access, right? They have this thing over there. But what do you think are some things that we should be thinking about now from an AI perspective to prepare for that eventuality?
You want me to answer that?
Yep, yeah, and then we'll go down.
The hilarious thing is when Copilot was released, everybody said it caused a security issue because it would answer you and tell you what the salary bands were at some company. Oh my gosh, it's a security problem. No, what Copilot did was it indexed all the spreadsheets, all those vibe-coded spreadsheets it had access to, and it happened to be somebody from HR that accidentally let the salary bands into a publicly available spreadsheet that was secure by obscurity. What AI agents will do is they will call you on your stuff, and they will reveal the things you've been hiding for a while. So if anything, I think the neat thing you need to prepare for is what happens when you have very meticulous, angry interns that can find all your holes and start plugging those holes.
So I think the beauty of these new tools is that, as you say, they are very accessible to professionals that could not contribute before. Maybe they could, but not as easily. So they can really turn intent that can be very not accurate. Hey, I want to deploy an app, right? As simple as this, as you say, the marketing intern wants to well, let's say deploy an app for PlatformCon, right? And then the platform team needs to turn this request prompt into something that can actually work. So we go from not deterministic to deterministic. And I think here there is, like, as you said, we still need this deterministic part to do things right. And so, as Vishaka said, like, it's like the principle of like your platform remain the same, right? So you just need to bridge these two paths. Actually, Humanitech is working on exactly that, where they will empower you to come with your agentic prompt-led, like kind of interface, but turn this into like this golden path that will actually do the job right. And so I think that's where like the platform team needs to focus.
I'm like +1 with everyone here. I feel right now in this current world we live in, platform engineering is like partnering with AI. Like there are ESG reports that like 20% of investments are being done on like platform dependencies, right? So it's just not like initially platform engineers were building, deploying systems for developers, right? Like, and helping them operationalize it. Now they're actually driving business. Basically, if there's a new model coming up, platform engineers are the one making sure that they're running at scale safely and reliably. So it's just like same example, if like, how platform engineers can do things faster with like AI, infrastructure provisioning, right? For instance, they can use these like scripts that can be written by AI. But at the same time, we have to like, it's an intern, right? They will be fast, they'll be smart, but at the same time, they still need to be supervised. They cannot be left like, all by themselves to run things in production, to like, just deploy things at scale. No, you have to still earn that trust. You cannot just assume trust on AI at this point. And at the same time, it's just like I said, it's partnering with AI, not just, you are not, so there is AI for platform, and then there's platform for AI. It's a dual revolution for both, right? So both has to go together, tie with each other, with agents, with like anything that comes, like we don't know. We live in this era, right? Like there was a life before internet, after internet, before mobile phones, after. And now it's the same with before AI and after AI. So we have to keep like, going in. And one thing that I feel like is the most critical piece here is to do it safely. Like you have to make sure that if you want to run these systems for long in a reliable manner, you have to get that security in place.
Well, can I
you can do whatever you want.
We have precedent for this. So there's these other non-deterministic things called humans that we allow to do work on technical systems. And with those humans, when we want to have them do things in a certain way, we have a tool. It's called a runbook. When runbooks grow up, they become scripts when they can be automated. And when those scripts run, we make them deterministic because we want them to run the same way every time. By the way, deterministic is not a bad word in AI. People think it is sometimes because we want things to be infinitely flexible. But who here knows that most LLMs, when you ask them, tell me how many R's Strawberry has, they get it wrong. Finally, they got it right a little bit in the last model. But what's been the workaround for that for the last 2 years? It's tell the AI to use a deterministic tool called a calculator to figure it out. And it's been better than the raw models just trying to reason through it for a long time. And we are going to continue to do that. And in fact, we are going to do that more, and you're start going to have AI able to develop those deterministic systems that a human will then validate so we get the reliability we want. That's the tweet.
So I'm going to ask a bit of a technical question. So we're going to switch things up a little bit and ask a bit of a technical question, or as technical as I can be with, in my current role. A lot of our clients traditionally had actually like 3 platforms, three platforms. They'd have the traditional developer platform, which had Kubernetes compute and all of this infrastructure to support applications that are going to be running at scale. They had a separate data and AI and ML platform where they had ETL scripts that would go out and put data into big data lakes. I'm going to date myself. I started on the DB2 Sybase and a bunch of Sybase databases when I started off, and then now it's all of these different Snowflakes, Databricks, that's there. And then there was a third one which is like fit for purpose business platforms, right? This is going to be payment systems, things that are going to be very specific and customer facing. As we start introducing AI and LLMs and these things, do you think that there's going to be a convergence of some of those platforms and that platform engineers now will have to do way more and manage way more? Or is it just going to be, okay, we're going to keep all of these things separate just so that we can, stay sane? I see Vashaki, you're already shaking your head no.
So, absolutely, it's adding an additional, responsibility layer for platform engineers now with these different platforms operating at scale. So there is in my personal opinion, it's just what's the business priorities are, how they want to, manage it in different ways. If there is there are practices that you have to follow in order to make sure that all these different pieces that you mentioned about having a full DevOps platform or compute backend infrastructure, then there's business, and then there's the data ML pipelines and all. How are they interacting? Understand if there are certain, there would be some policies that would be enforced across all these layers that would be organization-wide, but then going more granular with it, right? There would be different pieces that fits in, how it interacts with other systems. So I feel it's based on business priorities, and also there's a lot of, now with, again, this AI, we are embedding AI into it. We're rapidly, embedding it. It's just you cannot go that fast. You have to take a step back, see, run some prototypes, run some experiments before even implementing it, right? So that if it fails, what happens, right? There are greenfield use cases, there are brownfield use cases now. So even with these 3 tiers that you mentioned, there would be few systems which are legacy systems. There would be a bunch of other things like data quality issues, proper brittle APIs and all those things. Same with other, for business solutions, there could be these greenfield use cases, how you can integrate AI. It's you're developing it since day one, so you have guardrails in place. So there are pros and cons with each of these systems and embedding AI into it. It's just using results or I would say lessons learned from one system for other tiers would be very crucial here as well. So that's I think it's a mix.
Yeah.
One trend I've seen, which I think is quite interesting, and we spoke about, is there consolidation or will we have this different system? I'll speak in terms of consumption of this different platform. For the last maybe 10 years, I think we've all tried to move a lot of our business workflow into Slack. And what I'm seeing now is that we are seeing platform team trying to move this consumption of this platform into IDEs and coding assistant. And here, one tool that I think really enables this is MCP. And so we are seeing customers at Rootly Canva and Brex, who the day after we release our MCP server, we are already using our MCP server in production. And when I talked to the principal engineer there, their theory was developers are the most productive in their IDE, in their coding assistant. And so they want to prevent them from context switching, right? So they don't want them to go outside of their tool, go to this platform or this interface and so on and so forth. And they want to stay in their IDE, use the chat, and gather, for instance, Kesley this morning was speaking about ingesting a Jira ticket, but the same is happening here, hey, can I ingest this linear ticket and give it to Cursor so it can fix the bug, or perhaps in case of incident management, get an incident from Rootly and see if Cursor can fix it. So I think there is here a consolidation where we are trying to leverages like LLMs to allow engineers to consume all of this system in one location.
I think there's a couple trends to build on that. You said something about granularity that I've been thinking about a little bit too, which is the granularity of the services on the platform is going to start to increase. And so if you're trying to have an AI agent build something, right now they're building, who here uses Legos? And then has also used the bigger Legos, right? You're starting to get the Legos going from the kind of the Duplo toddler Legos that AI can deal with today to the small Technique ones that have gears and stuff that can do things. And you're going to start to have systems composed of smaller and smaller components that the platform provides. So if you think of the platform as kind of almost like a toy box of different Legos you can put together, as you get more granular, you get more powerful, but you also get riskier. So that's one trend I'm starting to see. The other trend, and this is probably something for everybody that's looking for a job in the industry, there's a term called context engineering. And you're starting to see more and more people build these systems that are supervisor agents to put the right context into the sub-agents that might go do observability tasks, it might go do a provisioning task, it might go do a figure out the root cause task. And as that starts to happen, and that's where most of the real action is in getting better and better context engineering to then drive the platform for most of these kinds of keep the system running kinds of tasks. And so I would do some investment into what that term is and really understand what MCP means. Because I think a lot of people think MCP is just a way to AIify your API endpoints. Well, what's the context in the middle of that? What's that C part? That C part is the thing where one of the first queries against an agentic system we built at Nvidia to do diagnostic is somebody said, well, where are the zombie nodes? Okay, well, what's a zombie node? Well, it's a very kind of contextualized thing that means something that doesn't have networking and a bunch of other things. Now, the AI made a good term for the zombie node, which was it has no network. It was clever, it's what I would think of, but it was also absolutely wrong. Right? So having that context to say, what does zombie mean for this group against this API is what that's the heart of what MCP really is. Otherwise, it's just another wraparound endpoint, and I don't care. Right? So as we think about that, putting that context, biggest trend you're going to see in the next year.
Okay. Want to thank you all for attending and sharing your thoughts. It was incredible.